guys so many times. It's one of the most fun areas of collecting because it's so varied around the world. It's so difficult and challenging, and they're going to share with you a lot of details about that. So please welcome Jonathan McElwain and Tom Stewart.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Jonathan McElwain. I live in Virginia in the Metro DC area, and my collection evolved over time, but it's sort of morphed into focusing almost exclusively on food collectibles.
My name is Tom Stewart, and I'm part of the Seattle Area Collectors Club, better known as SARLAC. I believe on the way in you should have all gotten a bottle cap from our group that Kurt Hanks designed for us. Felt it was a really good tie-in for our panel to give out to everybody, so hopefully you enjoyed that. My collection has not quite evolved like Jonathan's yet. I do love the food stuff, but I can't say that I focus on that. But I have definitely gotten into more and more, especially international food collecting over the last few years, the more I've gotten to know everybody.
All right, so we're going to start at the very beginning. One of the earliest promotions in the U.S. was a Wonder Bread promotion. And this was a set of 16 cards that you could get, one card per bag of Wonder Bread. And there were some display materials that went with this, some shelf danglers and some posters, pole signs, etc. The cards are fairly easy to come by, and I've read that there were sort of additional print runs of the cards that may have happened later, but they're fairly easy to track down, and even the display materials aren't that difficult to find. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see something from a company called Brown's. A company called Brown's. They made Town Talk bread, somehow associated with Wonder Bread. This was a regional bread supermarket, I guess, chain in the Pittsburgh area. But like lots of things, the packaging is actually what most people throw away, and so it can be really challenging to track down. I really like the packaging and tend to go for that. The premiums sort of come naturally as you accumulate this stuff. So here's 16 different versions of Wonder Bread bags. And I've got friends out there, and I know there's at least 2 or 3 more, and I would guess there's quite a few more over all of these things. I haven't seen a Brown's bread bag, but I have seen them with some of the other promotions from this time period, so I suspect that they're out there. A similar promotion later on happened in New Zealand, a company called Quality Bakers. Very similar. They had a set of 10 cards that came packaged in bread bags. These cards had a plastic card that came over top of the card, I guess, when you got it out. And you lined up that sort of funky pattern there with something on the bread bags. And if it gave you a message or something that you won a prize in their promotion. So there are at least 5 of these bags out there, and these are the 3 that I have in my collection.
So when we switch over to candy, M&M's really has been like the king of the promotion. Their biggest one was with Revenge of the Sith. They actually had 72 different candy wrappers based on the flavor, the size, etc. There can also be variations within each of those based on information on the inside of the packaging. So when you really get down to it, there's probably hundreds or thousands of different variations. They also had other products like the ice cream sandwiches that they were doing. And even to this day, they continue to do dispensers, tins, plush, PVC, Christmas ornaments. And you really have to figure out where you're going to draw the line of what's a food collectible and what's not, and where you want to, what you want to get out of that. Because this could really go on forever, and you could have a collection that's just Star Wars M&Ms and fill your house. Another one that has a lot of variations was fruit snacks. Now there's a lot of different fruit snacks out there, internationally, domestically, but really one of the big ones was the Clone Wars promotion that they did, where each grocery store chain put their logo on it, picked the art that they wanted for the Clone Wars, and you could only find that in those stores. And so when you had, you know, like Kroger has multiple brands depending on what region you're in. You can get variations just within Kroger stores. And there's so many different, you know, supermarket chains across the country. We're really not sure how many different variations of this there are. We're thinking that it's more than 40. I personally have about 25. Jonathan has a few more than that. But the only way we really know is from the networking that we do. Using friends and family, using other collectors, and having them tell you what's in their stores, getting that trading, having them send it to you. So I know I've used a lot of friends and family that really have nothing to do with Star Wars, but they're helping me get the variations that I need, so that us as collectors can really try and put together a complete set of them. We also like to do a lot of international things. I took a trip to Peru with several other collectors, and they had a chocolate promotion. And it was Winteritos candy, little individually wrapped chocolates, and the colorful box that you see up there was the first series, and there was 10 different characters. The characters came in 3 different colors, gold, silver, and glow in the dark. And each box of the chocolates had 15 characters in it. Then they put out Series 2, which was the red box. There was additional 10 characters, but in the boxes, they also had all of the Series 1 characters mixed in. So really, the red boxes, you could get Series 1 and 2, and there's 20 different characters, 3 different colors for 60 different individual ones that you really need to get. So we got taken down by some local collectors to the warehouse district, where we decided that 40 boxes of chocolate should be enough to make enough sense for us all. Because when you get down to it, that's 600 little toys. So we went back to the hotel, started making our sets in the lobby, piling up all of the chocolate, and realized we didn't have enough to make all of our sets. And so we actually had to get a lot of the local collecting community to get to their network and fill in the gaps so that we could all have our complete sets. And in exchange, we gave chocolate to all of the kids in Peru.
Every single one. This is a promotion that happened in France around the time of Attack of the Clones, or at the time of Attack of the Clones. On the left-hand side, you see some stickers that came on multi-packs of cellophane-wrapped gum. There were 20 different stickers. In the center there, you see the same sort of images repeated, and this is a set of 20 boxes. There's 2 missing there, and this is one of the things that can frustrate collectors. There's also 4 different flavors as these came on, so there's a total of 80 boxes that one might collect, but 2 of them are winner boxes, so the chances of finding any of those is fairly slim because most would be redeemed for whatever the prize was. I think it was a home entertainment system. Back in the vintage era, the Hershey's did a promotion, and there were 5 different cards that came on 9 of these boxes. These are little trays that would have held, I think, 6 candy bars, and those boxes there are all unfolded. So the little blue tab that you see sticking out there would have been kind of over top of one of the candy bars, and it would have been wrapped in cellophane. Rolo there, for the longest time, I thought I had an incomplete Rolo, but I've come to find out recently that I think Rolo had its own cellophane package that actually had some Empire Strikes Back graphics printed on it. These don't come, by the way, in lots of different variations, it's just that some of the cards were repeated on multiple candy flavors, but it's not like you could get chocolate with each of the 5 cards, so this is, as far as I know, the complete set. These are moving on to cereal promotions, and we've sort of organized this thing kind of by category. So these are some boxes that turned up recently at an auction that had a fairly poor description, and I was lucky enough to win these. These are some Canadian boxes from the original Star Wars. They were promoting some stickers made by a company called AdPack that are similar to stickers in the US. Each of these 6 boxes feature either the yellow or the purple subsets of these cards. which also happen to be the ones that are very difficult to find. So I found that interesting, but was really psyched to add these boxes to my collection. The infamous C3PO cereal. That happened here in the US as well as in Canada. I think there's about the same number of boxes when you consider all the major and minor variations. In the US, we had the mask boxes first, 6 different masks that you see there. Later on, there were sticker cards. You see those in the lower left, where you got a card with a sticker on top of it, and you could peel off that sticker and put it on something, and then there was an image below. So those are pretty neat. But you know, lots of them got peeled off, and only the cards remain. And then the third box was the Rebel Rocket offer, so there was an impact promotion for a small toy. In Canada, they had, I think, only 4 of the masks. I believe Chewie and Yoda were the ones that the Canadian kids didn't get. And then the cards, instead of having the sticker cards, they just had a set of 20 cards instead of 10 kind of combined cards. And in the lower right is a very hard to find small single-serving box of C3POs.
Since that time, there's been numerous promotions with cereal around the world. At this point, there's over 1,900 different boxes of cereal that you can get, various sizes, various flavors, various countries. So really, you know, for someone like Gus Lopez who wants them all, he almost needs another house just for cereal. And we'll kind of get to that when we show the displays later. But really, once you start looking at all of the different promotions from around the world, my favorite really comes down to the ones that take the cereal logo and tie it into Star Wars. And you look at the ones that have the Trix Rabbit looking like Princess Leia, or you have the TIE Fighters that have Cinnamon Toast Crunch for their panels. Those are the kind of things that I really find creative. Just like Jonathan said earlier, the premiums and stuff, those are pretty easy to get, especially if you're trying to collect all the boxes. But when you have some great graphics on the box, those are the ones that really add to your collection and make more of an impact. It's not just a box with a promotion. When it comes to cereal, though, there's also other things than what we would normally think of as cereal. And one of those is oatmeal. And again, traveling internationally, we were put under the fact that there was an oatmeal promotion going on in Guatemala when we were going down there. And it was a Clone Wars tie-in that had the logo on the top of the individual serving container, and then it had a school supply taped to the outside. And so there was 5 different school supplies, like a pencil sharpener, that were all Clone Wars labeled as well. And you could get any of those 5 items on any of the 8 flavors of oatmeal. So to get together a complete set, you're looking at 40 little containers of oatmeal. The oatmeal comes as a white powder. When you're traveling internationally, you really want to figure out how to get rid of a white powder before you get to customs. They may not take the same look at it as you do. So it's one of those things, and it's really the local collectors, again, that helped us put this together and get as many as we did. Because we were there just after their school year started, so the promotion was waning, and it was hard to find them in the stores. But the local collectors there were great in, you know, having saved them for us, and when we got down there, gave us stacks and stacks of the containers that we could bring back to the US to make sure that everybody got samples of what they had for this promotion.
Yeah, timing is everything on a lot of these things.
And so really, you want to take notice of what's around there with that in mind. This is the side of one of the boxes, and it's got a quote from Jeremy Bullock that says, "All conventions are very enjoyable. The more variety you do, the better." So, looking at Jeremy Bullock, the actor, one of the actors who was Boba Fett. But how many of you have actually seen this or know what this is from? And if you look at it, it's Nature's Path Organic Oatmeal. It was released in Canada and the US, but there is no Star Wars on the package other than one quote from Jeremy Bullock on the side. So if somebody hadn't actually saw that probably bought the product because they ate it, we would probably not even know that this existed. And those of us who really want to dive deep into the You know, obscure food collectibles love things like this. But if you're not paying attention, this could have easily just gone away and every box been thrown out. And another example of that was when we were in Peru. You know, we always go to the grocery stores and check things out because, you know, we never know when something else is going to come out that the locals didn't know about or didn't tell us. And one of those items was this Act 2 popcorn. We have Act 2 popcorn here in the US, and this is at the time of the Phantom Menace in 3D. So the locals assumed that because this is an American product, that we must already know about it. We've already probably got it. So they didn't say anything. But when we were going through one of the grocery stores looking for cereal and other things, we saw it on the shelf, and we're like, hey, we've never seen this. It came in 3 flavors, and obviously the language is both English and Spanish on the packaging. So we bought everything that we could find on the shelves. And again, each of the packages came with 3 Tazos, and you had to put together a set of 20. Well, we bought enough that we figured that we had no problems making the sets. But much like the candy toys, it was not that easy. And we had to, again, the local collectors really came through for us, found the ones we were missing, and got them to us before we had to leave the country, so that we were able to get sets of these on something that we didn't even know existed before we went to the country. So there's a lot of those kind of things out there that the network is really what makes that happen. Another snack food is Pringles. I know that a lot of you have probably seen Pringles recently, but Pringles actually dates back to 1983 for the first time that they did any kind of Star Wars tie-in. And there was multiple products, Pringles being one of them, where you could go get your proof of purchases, send in your couple of dollars, and get posters. The cans themselves didn't really have anything on them, but there's newspaper ads, there's the displays, there's the posters themselves. So there's a lot of other things that you can collect besides just the packaging for the product that tie back into being a food item.
Yeah, that display dump for posters on the left-hand side, I remember vividly begging my mom to buy whatever it took to get me one of those posters. So I did get one, but I didn't get all 4. Not back then.
And then throughout the years, there have been other various tie-ins. When it came out on Blu-ray, they actually made their canisters with Star Wars characters on them for the different flavors. And then later there was a promotion that tied into one of the toys that was out, where it was a coupon on the foil seal on top. That was really the only Star Wars logo on it, but many of the collectors left the foil seal on top, carefully opening it, and had to make sure that they had that seal on top of all of the different flavors. And the promotion came in both the US and Canada. So when we took a trip up to Canada from Seattle, we came back with a trunk full of Pringles in the various flavors. And the Canadian flavors aren't necessarily what we think of as good. Another item going back to original trilogy back in the day was cookies. Cookies came in 3 different flavors. Each flavor had a tie-in to the types of characters. Each of the boxes had 2 different backs. One was the promotion for the cups that you see here that you could get, and the other one was just the regular non-promotional back. But really, besides that, if you want to take it to the next level, like a friend that we know, you go out and you find the actual molds that the company used to make the cookies, and you put those in your collection. And you know, there's nothing better than taking them home and being able to make your own cookies later.
This is a promotion, a cookie promotion from France around this special edition time. There are lots of packaging and real bright, colorful, neat-looking packaging. This was some game cards. There were 30 basic cards in the set. There was some issues, I guess, with the cards getting released, I guess, before they had final approval. So you see there in the lower right, some of the cards have the CE approval indicator on them and some don't. But you see the Boba Fett cards there on the bottom. There are as many as 3 versions of some of these cards. You can see the artwork changed quite a bit. The differences between the middle and right-hand card are a little more subtle, but they are there. So there's a good many cards to collect from that set, and some of those can be fairly hard to track down.
So I'm sure a lot of you know about pin trading and other swag type items that are going on around the convention. I'm hoping most of you already know about Rancher Obi-Wan. But what happens when you have a collector that decides to make a collectible about collectibles and then get a company to sponsor you for that? You get Little Debbie's Star Crunch with Rancher Obi-Wan cards of his collection inside. You have 2 different boxes, you have 12 different cards. And honestly, I do encourage you, of the snack cakes, these actually aren't bad. And considering I've bought like 1,200 individual cakes to get my cards, you gotta have something that actually tastes good too. And I know a lot of the people at my office appreciated me bringing in bags of that. The other part of that though is, this is one of those promotions that you go to Little Debbie's website and they actually have a snack finder app on their website. So you can put in the exact product you're looking for and it will tell you all the stores in the area that have it, so that you don't have to search everywhere. I could go straight to the one store in my neighborhood that had it and just clear their whole shelf of it. And really made it much easier as a collector to find some of these. So it's another way that I encourage you, if you're looking for something, go to the websites, because a lot of times it will help you find what you're looking for.
Yeah, the websites are fairly terrible for giving you any sort of list of what might be out there, but those sort of apps for telling you where you can find certain things are pretty cool. So how many Coke fans do we have? Couple? Pepsi? Yeah. All right, well, Coke was the big deal during the original trilogy, and Pepsi came later. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Coke promotion. So there were 3 bottle cap related promotions, and bottle caps seemed to be a big swag thing here this year. But this was a Canadian promotion, at least a couple different size bottles. They had caps that said Coca-Cola, caps that said Coke. There's actually a 3rd cap that has some sort of a spaceship that's not really a Star Wars ship, but I understand was somehow involved in this promotion. And underneath them, you see in the middle bottom there, they just have a plastic liner. When you peel the liner, the goal was to match these pairs, and if you match these for naturally coupled pairs, you could win cash prizes that range from 15 cents up to $1. And the liners are there on the right, and on the very right-hand side is the sort of harder to find one of each pair. So Leia is the hard to find one of the most valuable pairs, so she is overall the most difficult one to find. If you notice there, take a look at the Darth Vader image and the image of the droid. There was a small restaurant chain, I understand had, I think, only 5 locations at the time in Winnipeg, and they used the same art for a short-lived, I think these are the only 2 cups that were made. But I think these are really cool. I'm still looking for the cups, but I did track down eventually one of these. This is like a full sheet newspaper ads. And Pete Domer was kind enough to loan me the image of Vader to use here. In Mexico, they had a set of 32 caps, and these came on under Coca-Cola and Fanta. In the lower right hand, there was a soda called Boing. And that had the Mexican logo, or the logo in Spanish. As far as I know, that had nothing to do with these other caps, and it's vintage, but I'm not sure, how its time paralleled these other caps. The really hard thing to track down from this promotion is you can see this thing's fairly rough, but I love this thing. It's kind of like a thick cardstock sheet, maybe 1.5 feet wide, but it was made where you could glue the caps. There's a spot for each cap with the number and name on it, but it was a way to display your collection of these caps. But overall, my favorite from these is the Japanese caps. So this was a set of, Star Wars premiered in Japan in 1978, but this was from that time frame. So there's a set of basically 50 images, and in the center there you see this very thin and very brittle plastic tray that was sort of vacuum formed, and you could push the caps in and it nicely held your complete set. There are tons of variations of these things. So they came in Coca-Cola, Sprite, and then 3 different Fanta flavors. Orange being sort of the most predominant, grape, and Fanta apple, the brown ones there at the bottom, are the hardest ones to find. Beyond sort of the top variations, the more interesting variations are, you see the logo cap there. It's hard to tell in a photograph and probably even harder to tell on the screen. But there are some of these that have sort of a gold, a lot of them have a gold tone. There are also ones that have a silver. So the one where on the right of that pair is one of the silver ones, and the images look a lot different. I guess it's a coating or something on it. In the center there you see these caps that have a pink line around them, and the one on the right has some black text over the top of the image, and that actually says Star Wars. The one on the left, it's really hard to see even looking at a cap, but there is some writing on it, and a friend translated it for me, and it says lose or loser. So I think, I'm not sure, this is one of those things where I've been talking to other collectors, and I still haven't quite got to the bottom of exactly what those were. I don't know if it was winning a bottle of soda or what, but it has to do with some sort of a contest. In the lower right are the yen winner caps. Those obviously, mostly were redeemed for the value, so it's fairly rare to find those. But the overall sort of things that people were going for were the t-shirt that you see in the lower right there, as well as the AM radio with R2D2. They're both really, really cool items. Moving forward into the prequel area, so now we sort of switched to Pepsi, but this is kind of a segue. There's nothing, these are cans from South Africa. They're, very difficult to find. This is, as far as I know, the full set of them. They don't say anything about Pepsi on it, but they do indicate that the syrup that was used in the soda was imported from the United States. So I think they have something to do with Pepsi, but there's nothing that says Pepsi, PepsiCo, etc. on these.
So when you actually get to Pepsi, all of you Pepsi fans really must be prequel fans. Because that's when Pepsi got the license. And they really went all out on the Phantom Menace. They had cans with multiple characters. They had bottles that had different characters on them, both plastic and glass. They had the special Storm can that was limited test market release. It was also at Celebration 1. They had cans of it they were giving out as a promotion. But besides just the cans, there's also the outer cases that you can collect. There's variations where in Canada they had 7-Up cans instead of the Pepsi One, which wasn't a product that was released in Canada. There was inserts in the various 24 packs that in between the cans. There was different prizes. There's shelf tags that Walmart was using to promote it that actually said Star Wars and then gave the price of their product. They did a lot of standees for various stores, especially some of the smaller non-grocery store type places where you could get sodas. They would have a standee there to let you know that they had sodas, and they had most of the different Phantom Menace characters. And Pepsi really continued their promotion throughout, even through Revenge of the Sith. There's also the full-scale R2D2 coolers that you could get in convenience stores. So the Pepsi really went all out, especially in the US, with their promotion and tried to maximize the use of that license. Another one of the beverages that you can get, this is in the stores now. It's Good to Grow juices for kids, and it comes with the topper on it for Rebels characters. They have 6 different characters that you can get, with the Darth Vader being the most recently released one. But they have the Inquisitor, Stormtrooper, Chopper, Ezra, and Kanan. And you can buy these individually in the stores, but then a lot of them have also 3-packs. And then they also did a 5-pack where you got 1 lid and 5 of the bottles, so that you just reuse the lid for your child over and over again. Another variation is they actually have a movie ticket promotion sticker on some of them. And if you really look close at the sticker, it actually shows the Star Wars caps as that promotion for the movie ticket as well. And then another one, and this is really one of my favorite recent ones, was the Coffee Mate Creamers. And I loved it because they actually turned the whole package into one of the characters. And so you had 5 different characters that you could choose from depending on the flavor of creamer that you liked. And at first we thought, okay, that's great. Buy 5 of them, you've got the set. And then we started looking at the back, and there's trivia questions on them. And then you start comparing, well, these Boba Fetts have different trivia questions. And then you realize, well, there's 4 trivia questions on each of the different 5 creamers. So the next thing my wife knows, I've got 20 different creamers in the refrigerator. And I don't drink coffee. So people in my office got a lot of creamer over the next several months that they, and they're looking for the next Coffee Mate promotion because they got addicted to it. Now they have to buy their own. It's one other thing. On the right there is actually a store display, and it's the R2-D2 example. But it actually is battery operated, and the cap goes up and down, and it lights up. And I have to thank Dave Brock for finding mine. I don't know that I ever saw them on the West Coast, but in the Midwest, apparently a lot of the stores had them, and he was able to get a bunch of them for different collectors. So that's another one of my favorite pieces for this promotion.
This is a pasta promotion from Canada. These images are actually from a large sort of uncut sheet that I've found of these things, or one on an auction. And this promotion is mentioned in Steve Sansweet's concept of screen to collectible as having initially received Lucasfilm rejection, basically, but later was approved, I guess with the caveat that they do a Star Wars promotion on some more nutritious product. I've never seen what that more nutritious product is, but they're pretty neat with a cool puzzle offer on the back. In the UK, they had a wall sausage promotion. There were a set of these 12 Letraset transfers. There was also a coloring competition where you received sort of that folded uncut strip that you see in the middle. And there was a look-in magazine where you could, I think you got a pair of the Letraset transfers, as an insert kind of bonus in the magazine. This is one with the Clone Wars, the original Clone Wars micro series. Doesn't seem too bad, right? There's 4 boxes, 5 labels, and there were actually multi-packs that you could buy, grocery stores or club stores like Sam's or something like that. So there's a 6-pack wrapper and an 8-pack wrapper. But like the Nestle coffee creamers that Tom talked about, the stuff adds up fairly quickly. But even worse, I didn't realize until sort of after these things were gone, and I think a lot of us got blindsided by this. There were lots of different characters, so each of the labels had 6 or more. So these are all the loser versions of one label. There would have been a winner, presumably, of these things. So again, things like this sort of really make the variations, if you're pursuing those, multiply very quickly. This is a promotion, I don't know if it's Chernobyl or what, but there's some weird shaped chicken nuggets here. These are from Russia. Really neat looking boxes. There is an R2 box that I don't have, but they have these cut out and made paper models on the back, but I really like that packaging.
So now you go back to the US, to some recent promotions, and it's really where they've managed to match up with one of the iconic US brands, with Campbell's Soup. They started out with original trilogy characters. At your basic store, you could get Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, Yoda, and R2. Then if you wanted to go out and get Chewbacca or C-3PO, you had to go to Target. I'm not really sure how Campbell's Soup and Target got an exclusive on that, but they managed to, so that you only had to, you had to go to Target to get those last 2 cans. It was also had the logos on the trays that the cases that came in, and then Sam's Club had 10 packs that had exclusive logos for the R2 and the Vader. The Vader came with cans of the Stormtrooper and Vader inside. R2 came with R2 and Yoda inside. And then you also had the different ads that, when you go to the store, you see the little labels over the soup can dispenser, that they had specific Star Wars ones for each of the characters. And I know there's some Targets in my area that had to keep replacing those.
Mysteriously.
And then there's also, they moved on to The Force Awakens. And as far as I know at this point, there's still just the 4 cans, Rey, BB-8, Kylo, and Finn. And again, they haven't created new labels for the dispensers, but there's more cans that you can get for that promotion.
It was interesting, the lead up to Force Awakens, you featured a lot of the original trilogy characters, and so it'll be interesting to see what sort of next fall's promotions, are they featuring all, obviously the characters are going to continue, so it'll be interesting to see kind of if they're showing how if it's all sort of old imagery.
And then this is, the natural tie-in that we think of with Star Wars is your Mexican food line. You want to have your taco shells with C-3PO on them, or you want to have your refried beans with Chewbacca. And really all this was a promotion to get you to go to the movie, that you got movie cash by taking a photo of your receipt, sending it into the website, and then you could get the movie cash. The thing was that they had variations in the different flavors of the taco shells, so there were 6 different products that you could go get. 5 of them were the non-canned products, and then the can of refried beans. And so it took a while to find the various flavors, since I'm not necessarily used to looking for all of these, the Bull Ranch and the nacho cheese taco shells. But it did, again, make my employees happy that we had a taco bar at work shortly thereafter. Then you go on and craft, and your classic mac and cheese. And in the US, it started out that they had a box with a character on the front, and then one of the 2 sides of the character on the back. So you had to get 8 different boxes to get all 4 characters and have both of the puzzle pieces for the back. They recently came out with a different version of the front, so now there's 8 more boxes to make up the set. They also had special packaging in Target, in Walmart, in Sam's Club, that all came with a poster. So it was a 5-pack or an 8-pack, and you had to buy that to get the poster. But of course, those came out about 3 or 4 months after the original releases, when I'd already had one of each of the boxes, and now I'm getting multi-packs with more of the boxes. So at a certain point, you got to figure out, what are you going to do with all this macaroni? So you put your craft skills to work, and you paint the macaroni, and you glue it to a button. And so now it becomes swag. And so if anybody was in Anaheim, you may have gotten one of these macaroni pins from me. And then it was also available in Canada as craft dinner on a much less scale for the packaging. You only needed 4 different boxes.
All right, who doesn't like ice cream? This is a UK promotion for Lion's Made. Really love the colors and graphics on these labels. And I like the flavor of this. It's chocolate iced lolly with chocolate flavored coating and sugar balls. Sounds like a lot of sugar to me. In addition to these wrappers, there were 4 paper masks that you could collect. Moving on to Empire, again, 6 basic wrappers. There's a couple of variations on these. Some of them say free sticker inside, and some don't. And you can see the stickers along the bottom. That's a fun and fairly challenging set to put together. These were a little different. They were toffee flavor and mint ice lolly with chocolate flavor coating, and again, the sugar balls. In Spain, a company called Frigo made, and I had a nice new promotion. And this is another one where you can, sort of the collector in me looks at the upper left-hand corner and feels a little empty. So Ben Kenobi is the missing one, and you had to, he was the winner, and you could redeem him, I think, for one of the Hasbro Millennium Falcon toys. At the bottom there, you see a pair, and there's actually 2 variations, I believe, of each of these. Some of them have a Lucasfilm copyright across the bottom above the character's name, and some don't.
So recently, Disney's really tried to tie their Star Wars stuff into healthier options. So they've started adding fruit to the mix of products that you can get. And so these are apple wrappers. And there was a company from Washington that did apples and a company from New York that did apples. They were available in 3-pound bags or 5-pound bags, depending on the promotion. And in order for me, from Seattle, Washington, to get some of these apples, I had to fly all the way to Florida. Because despite the fact that they were grown in Washington, they never seemed to be sold in Washington. Then they also added oranges and grapes. And I don't know how many of you have seen, but recently the Urban Dictionary, Yoda grapes, has come up as a phrase. And it's when things have gone too far. Which really, you know, there's grapes out there, there's containers, as you see in the lower left. There are variations on the labels for the containers as well. Besides there being green grapes and red grapes. And then not only were the plastic containers logoed, but your flat of 8 containers came in a cardboard box that was also logoed. The grapes have come in BB-8 and Yoda, depending on the time frame. So, you know, again, my office was very happy to see grapes coming in after all of the candy and creamer and everything that I had been bringing in the past.
And these, for me, on the East Coast, these came and went very quickly. And it was, I had to go to the store, and it was like they got one shipment, and that was it. I never sold them again.
And then as far as beverages, to get away from all the sugary stuff, they've actually did bottled water. And so in the US, it was Niagara, and they did a Force Awakens, and they've done a Rogue One. And you could get it in 24 packs, you could get it in 32 packs. The plastic outer wrapping was logoed, as well as each individual bottle. But the ones that really intrigued me more were the worldwide. These are some examples of ones from Europe, but they actually made the individual bottles the characters. So much like the creamer, you could get your sets of actual characters as the bottle, which I think is much more enjoyable as a collector to display those types of things than just something that's got a simple label with the normal imagery of Rogue One or Force Awakens. But there's water bottles worldwide, multiple countries in Europe, Mexico, South America. So really the bottled water is becoming the new soda, it seems, as far as a lot of the promotions.
This is a cheese promotion from a company called Dairy Lee in Empire Strikes Back era in the UK. In the lower right hand, you can see the boxes, and you would have the triangular shaped cheese wedges inside the box. There's a back there on the right that's fairly boring, but there's another 4 backs that had little sort of line art images, and you would use the transfers in the upper left-hand corner there to create a scene, much like the Presto Magics that we had here in the US. The lower left, at the very first issue of the UK Marvel version of their Star Wars series, The Empire Strikes Back, when that started, you could get, I believe, the Dagobah transfer sheet as an impact premium with that. And then in the upper right hand is the bumper transfer pack, which was a mail-in promotion. You had to mail in several of the lids in order to get that thing. But it's a fairly large sheet of transfers. It's a nice fold-out booklet. Later on, for droids and Ewoks, you can see along the top there, these are from Gus's collection. There are multiple sizes of cheese, and then really cool, not really stickers, but they're just sort of little. Obviously, they went with the wedges. So there's all the sort of Ewoks characters. There's another couple characters, C-3PO and R2-D2, that I don't have featured there. On the backs of the boxes, there was then an offer to mail in for VHS or cassettes of the one from Ewoks and one from the Droid series. For the 3D re-release of Episode 1, this was a pasta promotion from Germany. A couple different size boxes with a couple different characters, but as far as I know, all the same pasta product. And there were some game cards that you got in the boxes where you might win a trip to Legoland and that sort of thing.
So here's another example of an American company that did a promotion but did not do it in America. So these are various condiment containers that were put out for The Force Awakens, but they were only from Mexico. And so you have your ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard that you could get, but again, only in Mexico, even though Heinz is an American company. Then the one on the right is something that's actually out right now in France, and they have various mustard flavors, I guess you'd call them, that are out there with different characters on them from the original trilogy. So again, it's one of those odd things for a time, because it's not a snack food. It's not something you're just going to grab. I mean, condiments are not something that you buy over and over again continuously. It's something that lasts usually a little bit longer. So you really have to stock up on this if you want to get the whole set. And then another one that I really found is odd is we have on the left there a Jell-O tie-in. So it's Jell-O brand gelatin, and it's a package that comes with Jell-O molds. The boxes inside, though, of the actual gelatin are not Star Wars logoed in any way. It's just 2 boxes of their flavored gelatin. Then you look on the right, Royal Gelatin, which I've only been able to find at Walmart, actually has Force Awakens characters on the individual boxes of gelatin. So somehow they decided to license basically the same product to 2 different companies, just with variations.
This is one of my favorite promotions. This is, again, from Spain. It's a Yoplait yogurt promotion. And in the upper left-hand corner, when you bought yogurt there, you can see that that's an unfolded paper wrapper, and I believe inside you got 2 of the stickers. The thing in the middle there is a poster, and it came, and it would have sort of areas of the poster where the image had been sort of kind of like a whiteout sort of thing. So you just see this white silhouette of the thing. And so you got these rectangular stickers, and they're all die cut around the character. So you would unpeel that Chewie and find where he belonged on the poster and apply it to the poster. So this is a poster from my collection that, there's a few places where you'll see some white poking out, but it was really well done and, really cool artwork. Again, in the UK, this is a Dairy Time yogurt promotion. There's another couple of cups that I don't have there, but really neat. Several different lid variations, and if you want to go crazy, there's also variations of the actual cups themselves. The thing on the left there is sort of an advert out of a comic book. Really neat stuff. So I'm going to throw to Tom here, but once you have, or as you're collecting this stuff, what do you do with it?
Right, because you come home and you've got your $100 worth of Star Wars groceries, and you may not want to eat it all right away. So the first one we have here is soda. You get it in a can, you think, oh, well, I'll just put that on a shelf, it'll be fine. Well, you wait a few years and you find that soda, while it won't necessarily destroy the aluminum, it will leak through it. And it will create really big mess of sticky substance without actually showing any signs where it came out of the can. So what you really want to do is empty those if you're not going to actually drink it. And there's several different ways you can do that. I mean, one is obviously just like you would drink it, you can just pop the top, drain it out, drink it, whatever you want to do with it. But if you want the can to look like it was never opened, you can put a tiny hole at the bottom and just let it naturally drain out. And when you display it, nobody will ever really know that there's a difference. You can do the same thing with your plastic bottles. You can actually open the top like you would normally, or just put a small, with a nail or a pin in the bottom of it and allow the fluid to all drain out. With cans like the SpaghettiOs or the soup, you can get a can opener that actually side cuts so that you can put the lid right back on top and it doesn't look like it's ever been opened. Or if you don't want to even keep the can, you can use a hairdryer and it will loosen the glue and allow you to pull the label off, and you can just save the flat label for the future.
A lot less volume intense that way.
Cereal is another one, or the macaroni, those kind of things that come in boxes. And the recommendation that we have is that you want to take that product out. If you're not going to actually eat it, you want to get rid of it. I know in the past a lot of collectors would taken the bags and donated them to food banks. But you want to carefully use a knife to break the seal at the top and bottom so that you can flatten the box. But a lot of it is you don't really want to have that food in your house because it can attract insects, it can attract other rodents, mice, rats, etc. Or some of them actually just chemically break down depending on the cereal and could actually damage the packaging long term. Chip bags the same way. You can open it carefully like you would normally do when you're going to eat them, or you could slice along one of the seams and then take the product out that way. Again, I do recommend cleaning the bag though as much as possible to get any residue that could attract anything to the collectible area. Now, what do you do if the product is actually screen printed onto it? Like, I know Disney is doing a lot of that right now. They have Rice Krispie treats that you can buy that have a Star Wars image. Really recommend just eat it. If you want to stick it in your house on a shelf, you can do that, but ultimately some of these things, they're not going to survive no matter what you do, so enjoy it. You could probably freeze it, but I know in my collectible area, I don't have a freezer that has a display, so nobody would ever see it. It'd just be me knowing that it was there.
So I'll talk just real quick about displays. So on the left there is my display. So I've got a room in my house that's mostly dedicated to food collectibles. So I really like all the packaging and it's fun to display. I sort of organize my stuff by kind of category in these little cubic IKEA cases. And then on the right-hand side is a picture of Gus's cereal room. So it's jaw-dropping to be in there and see all that stuff. Really amazing.
Then some of the other options displaying, depending on what you've got, there's various portfolios, 3-ring binders, other types of notebooks that you can get. And especially when you've made your cereal box or macaroni and cheese box, or you just kept the labels, put them in the sleeves, put them in a notebook, and then you can have multiple notebooks on a shelf and pull them out and flip through it. So it's a way to keep it organized and compact and still allow people to see what you've got. There's also options of just, maybe you get a display from a store and you can put all of your products in that display flattened. Or you can get an actual flat file like they use for posters and such and put your items in that. But a way to just keep it organized and still allow people to go through it and look at it and admire all the different things that are out there that they probably never knew existed. And then really resources here. There is a Facebook page for Star Wars Food Packaging and Premium that's been around 2 years now.
Yeah, it's pretty active. too.
And yeah, and it's been, for me especially, a great resource to know what's out there and when. I posted pictures as soon as I find things, and really everybody in the group, if they seem to be the first one to find something, they post it, they post where they found it, both regionally and the specific store. And it's really helped to say, oh, this is out there now, I need to go out and find it. The other thing is there's several different websites, but those aren't going to necessarily keep you updated as fast as some of the Facebook groups will. And kind of like we talked before, networking within the collecting community and then within your friends and family. The mustard jar that I showed earlier, one of my employees brought that back for me from France just recently when he was on his honeymoon. And his wife wasn't sure why they were going into all of these grocery stores and convenience stores. But he's like, I have to bring something back from my boss. And so, you know, you're really going to be able to get more and more, the more people you talk to about it, so that if they know what you're interested in, they will help. It's not a competitive group, it's a cooperative group, really, when you look at the community as a whole.
Yeah, it's a really fun community to be part of. Really, just as Tom says, it's very cooperative, and yeah, it's good. So that's what we have. Any questions? There's not much time left.
It's not really a question, but 3 days before I came here, my sister gave me that Campbell Soup Darth Vader 10-pack.
Cool.
Go back to the Pepsi can. Do you think they're worth anything?
So the question is, the Pepsi cans, are they worth anything? I've got a friend who may be in the audience, and he recently asked another friend what he should do with all these Episode 1 Pepsi cans, and his friend said, you should probably recycle them. so, you know, some of them, the Storm cans and the gold Yoda cans, the prize-winning ones, but there's just was such a glut of that product out there that, you know, probably not much value. One more question?
What about like fast food, like McDonald's, Burger King? Is that different type of food collecting?
Yeah, the question is, fast food collecting, is that a different kind? No, is the answer. It's just, we sort of had to limit this to time, so we just sort of picked some of the things we liked, and not that we don't like those promotions, but no, it's sort of all under the same umbrella, I would say, and we pursue those things as well, which is, there you go. So, yeah, so we just decided not to talk about it today much, so.
All right, as a reminder, when we exit, it's the doors in the back are the only ones where you get the star taught. So let's give a round of applause for our presenters.